The resurgence of McLaren since round 9 has been one of the most remarkable stories of 2023. From the point they bought their first major upgrade in Austria, they have scored more points than every other team besides Red Bull. In fact, over the past 3 Grand Prix, McLaren have even outscored the world champions due to their driving pairing, both scoring points heavily. Meanwhile, Red Bull have suffered as Perez continues to struggle, the Mexican picking up just 1 point last time out in Qatar. Mercedes set to ditch car philosophy. Yet another surprising take of the season is how Mercedes have managed to remain in second place amongst the F1 teams. With just 6 podiums from 17 rounds, the Silver Arrows have been reasonably consistent, whilst their rivals Ferrari and Aston Martin have been up and down from weekend to weekend. Mercedes' position in the World Championship has improved from last year, where they finished the season behind Ferrari in third, but picked up a race win and 16 podiums along the way. However, the Silver Arrows is about to take a leap into the unknown, as they are the last of the F1 teams to abandon their car design concept following the huge rule changes for 2022. A frustrated Lewis Hamilton earlier this season ranted at his team, claiming they did not listen to him when designing the 2023 Challenger. The team ditched their technical director and reappointed James Allison, who will oversee the all-new Mercedes W15 for 2024. Hamilton later elaborated on the problems he had identified with the car, in particular the positioning of the cockpit. Hamilton complains about driving position. "I don't know if people know, but we sit closer to the front wheels than all the other drivers. Our cockpit is too close to the front," Lewis revealed during the summer. "When you're driving, you feel like you're sitting on the front wheels, which is one of the worst feelings to feel when you're driving a car. What that does is it really changes the attitude of the car and how you perceive its movement. It makes it harder to predict compared to when you're further back and you're sitting closer, more center. It's just something I really struggle with." Hamilton admits the team had informed him of their plans ahead of building the car, but wasn't fully aware of the consequences. Analysis shows Mercedes' cockpit similar to others. "I listened to the team and that was the direction that they said that we should go. Had I known the feeling that I would have in it, it wouldn't have happened. It has to change for the future." 100%, said an adamant Hamilton. Of course, there are certain elements of the modern Formula One car which are locked in for the year once the team decides to follow a certain design route. The monocoque is crash tested and approved by the FIA, at no small expense, and so the position the driver sits in is nigh on impossible to change under the new budget-constrained cost cap era. Analysis has demonstrated the position of the Mercedes drivers is not significantly different from their Red Bull counterparts, and further, Ted Croptes of Sky F1 spoke with then Mercedes technical director Mike Elliott over the specific issue Lewis raised. "I had all these ideas about the Mercedes and I put them to Mike. One of them was, I said, have you moved the cockpit forward, because there's something online, I can't remember what it was, so I said, have you moved the cockpit forward?" He, Mike Elliott, said, "No. So I'm all a bit confused," Kravitz surmised. Lacking the experience of an aerodynamicist, Hamilton may well be interpreting a feeling he has when driving the car into a specific physical attribute, which is not in reality the cause of the problem. Wolff doesn't want to hear Hamilton complaints. A number of the drivers have struggled to adapt to the new ground effect cars, which returned to F1 in 2022, because a huge amount of the downforce is created under the floor from low air pressure. When the car changes attitude, the center of pressure moves, and it could be this Lewis is feeling. Sergio Perez is the classic example of the driver having problems with the same technology his teammate is notching up the most dominant year ever in Formula One. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff will have been advised by his engineers of the real cause of Lewis' bad feelings when driving the car. Speaking to Gazzetta dello Sport, Wolff states, "We have to get back to basics. I don't want to hear Lewis say anymore, my cockpit is too far forward. We know what we understand and will not pay attention to what we do not understand. The biggest problem is that the drivers have no confidence in the car. We have to give them a solid foundation to score good points. There is only one man at the moment who stands head and shoulders above the rest. The engineers will decide on cockpit." It's clearly problematic for the engineers when drivers attempt to diagnose precisely the reasons for them feeling uncomfortable and lacking in confidence. It's up to the engineers to listen to driver feedback and then decide whether they believe it's the cockpit positioning or something else that's responsible for the feedback. Ferrari, Aston Martin, McLaren and us are all in the same situation. At least we are second in the Constructors' Championship, because after all these years we have learned how to optimize our results. It's just that no one comes close to Verstappen, Wolff concludes. Yet 2024 will be a make or break year for Mercedes as they ditch the design concept which has underpinned their cars from last year and this. If they fail to hit the ground running, the team may be doomed until the next big regulation changes due for the 2026 season. Verstappen dismisses Mercedes as also-rans. What happened to the might force that once ruled Formula 1? Mercedes-AMG F1 with their record 8 consecutive team championships were once unstoppable, but now they have been relegated to one of the also-rans. An also-ran is originally a 19th century term used in horse racing and referred specifically to a horse not finishing in the top 3. Of course, Mercedes have claimed podium finishes this season, but maybe less than you think. George Russell feels he is holding my own in the tough battle against Lewis Hamilton, having been pushed further than ever before by the 7-time world champion. The British duo are in their second year together as teammate at Mercedes, and, whilst round 1 went to Russell in F1 2022, Hamilton is due to take the second round after bouncing back during the F1 2023 campaign. But, despite a 62-point gap between the two this year, Russell still thinks he is showcasing his talent against one of the most decorated world champions to have ever graced the sport. I can very confidently sit here and say there's probably 5 drivers on this grid that you put them in the best car, they will win the championship, Russell told the Beyond the Grid podcast. I have no doubt about that. Of course, Lewis Hamilton is one of those guys, and if I'm going head-to-head with him week in week out, that gives me the benchmark. Also, I don't think I've ever been pushed in my whole career like I've been pushed in the last year and a half, so to see that I'm swimming well gives me so much faith in myself and so much confidence. There's sort of no doubt now that I truly believe in myself and the team believe in me. And that's been really down to the fact that being teammates with Lewis and I have held my own, so that now I can just focus on my job and go out there week in, week out and just try and maximize the performance. Russell was also asked by host Tom Clarkson what has been his favorite moment so far in Mercedes colors, and the answer is an unsurprising one. Yeah, I think it does have to be Brazil, 2022, when Russell won the race, because it felt earned. In soccer, where Russell deputized for an ill Lewis Hamilton in 2020, it all happened so quick. It was almost like too good to be true. And almost, if I won that race, I feel like it would have just been too good. I think I maybe wouldn't have appreciated future victories, or the victory in Brazil, as much as I did, or as much as it deserves, because Brazil truly felt earned for all the hard work everybody put in. The hard work I had put in with the pressure that I was under from Lewis for the last 15 laps of the race. I think he is the greatest driver of all time. And, every single weekend I go out practice, quali, race, you're directly compared to the greatest driver of all time. Having that sort of fair fight was extraordinarily rewarding for me and why it is an incredibly satisfying position for me to be in, and such a privileged position to be in is because not many drivers get that chance.